Alrighty, and this is part 2 of the Chapter 8 project. So, you can see here there's really just a little bit of code, and then I've got to run and demonstrate that the program works. So right here, this is the time picker dialog on time set listener, which is passed with the time picker dialog. So this saved as T here. So what we're going to do here, this is going to be passed the hour of day and the minute as parameters here. Right here, and we store that in the calendars, hour and minute fields. Alright, and then the hour of day at this point is actually in 24-hour format. So if this were a PM time, if this were after 12 o'clock noon, then this would be greater than 12. So we're looking at, 13 and up is what we want. So I said if hour of day is greater than 12, we'll say that PM is true, that it's a PM time. Otherwise, it's an AM time, so we'll say PM is false. And that will take care of the whole glitch thing, or well, this will take care of the format and ensure that this is displayed in 24-hour format, or a military time there. So then we've got we enable the date button. Now that's crucial because if we didn't enable the date button here, the user wouldn't be able to select a date and therefore wouldn't be able to place a reservation. So it really ends up being like this enables the date button. Well, the initial startup disables the date button. The time button will enable the date button, and the date button will disable itself. So it creates a nice little loop there that will keep the user from running or being able to select the date and then the time, and then cause that error that I was talking about earlier. And that keeps all the times nice and accurate. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and run the emulator here, and we'll go ahead and get this thing started. It's on a Nexus 10 running Android 9, and of course the project settings, the minimum SDK is Android, Android 14, or I guess SDK version 14. It's probably Android 3 or 4 point something. So it's right after Honeycomb, or like a newer version of that. Here's our emulator. I have to drag that over here. Got a much nicer work computer now. It's got an AMD Radeon GPU with like 16 gigs of RAM, so it can run this thing now without blinking an eye, which is pretty handy for testing purposes. So let's see. This is our application. You can see here we've got our image, header, description text, and now we've got our buttons. And notice the date button is grayed out. That's to prevent that glitch. So we're going to select a time, and let's say we want to book a reservation for we want to do that 7 in the morning. Who's even up at that time? Let's do 7 in the evening, like 7:30. Should be 19:30. Now let's say please select the date of your reservation. So now the button's enabled, and we'll say we're going to book this for April 24th. That was weird. Time picker dialog didn't close out. This typically does. Make sure, actually, but notice it did display the correct one, and then since it was a PM time, it added plus 12. It made it 19:30 instead of what it would have been, which would have been like 7:30 if I hadn't added in the whole PM code there. So reservation made for April 24th, 2019 at 19:30. So let's go ahead and close this. That was odd with the emulator displaying that dialog. I want to make sure that that's not actually going to happen the second time. For some reason it just didn't close. I may have like double clicked and hit the button as soon as I closed it. And here's my icon actually for this application. It's in the bottom right here. It's a nice little hotel. It's a 3-star hotel there. So it's pretty nice, and there's a link to that in the sources.txt file. So we'll go ahead and select a time. This one, let's say someone is crazy, they want to be there at 5 in the morning, like 5:15. And for the date, we're going to book this in advance, June 17th. Yeah, so what had happened was, looks like just some kind of glitch. I've noticed that the emulator can be a little weird sometimes with that. So I may have somehow clicked on the date button. I don't know, that was odd, but definitely random, not an isolated case, not actually a problem with the code. So here we have our reservation placed for June 17th, 2019 at 15:15, or 15:15, 5:15. There we go. So that pretty much wraps it up. Showed the icon and demonstrated it works. So don't believe there's anything else to look at. Got our activity file. Yeah, I believe that's good. Alright, and that wraps up the Chapter 8 project.